What's going on? And welcome to Rabbit's Used Cars.
Wait a minute, that's my line. That's my line. You can't go stealing my line.
Well, that's what I thought you should do because I think you got to right around 75,000 subscribers.
We are past 75,000 subscribers. 75,000 subs in 8 months.
How do you get 75,000 subscribers in 8 months?
It could be that honey poured over gravel voice.
That could be it.
Could be being so charismatic.
That could also be it.
Every time you talk, it sounds like you're a movie. Love that. Or it could be our expert camera work. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 3.
Camera 4.
You know, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's all these things combined. But I love doing this. I love sitting in this warehouse, and I love talking to you guys. I love bringing cool cars out, different stuff around, and having fun stories to share with you guys. I mean, it's so crazy, you know, not to get too far back. You know, just 3 years ago, I sat down with Wicky and did our very first video in a warehouse like this, shooting with Ed. And, you know, it was just one of those fun pet project things. And then it turns into, we need you to come back. We need you to do this. You know, when you got Ed Bolian texting you with exclamation points, he's excited. And you go back down and we go from literally freezing our balls off in this cold warehouse to now he's moved it to a little office in the studio. And then the studio's moved to his house just over the years. And then we get 150,000 subs. Now it's got over 1 million subs 3 years later. Man, you need to launch a channel. You need to do this. You need to do this. And, you know, I'd love to plan things, and, you know, and I wanted to make it perfect. And when we launched this channel, you know, there were so many different approaches and different things we tried and that you guys never saw. Literally, this was 6 months of planning to get where we're at now. I know, really, we tried for 6 months to get where we're at. So, you know, have patience. You know, we released our first video September 1st of this past year. It's been nuts ever since. And, you know, every week it's just content. And then when we hit 50,000 subs, we started dropping twice a week. And then now that we've hit 75,000 subs, we're going to be doing 3 drops a week. We're bringing the Hot Rods and Happy Hour podcast right here to Rabbit's Used Cars. So the #1 automotive talk show in the Southeast, one of the most downloaded podcasts, Intercom, period, is coming to the tube. I think that's going to be awesome. So we're going to have, of course, we'll have Sean from EMF Autos, and then we're going to have, you know, the professor himself. And of course, we're going to have Hot Rods and Happy Hours legal counsel, Kobe Miller, even here. And we're going to have a blast with that. And I cannot wait. You guys are going to love that. So it's really cool because, you know, most podcasts, you just listen. Well, this one you can listen, but you can actually watch. And it's so much more fun. And being on YouTube, we don't have all the FCC things we had to worry about on FM radio. So we can have a lot more fun. And I always tell people all the time, the things you never heard were some of the best parts of the radio show. And I'm pretty sure Sean will agree with me on that.
That is true.
Some of the comical moments, some of the things that just the banter back and forth, if we could have actually put that on the air, it would have went crazy. And then the FCC would have shut us down. But like I said, we're going to have a lot of fun on YouTube, so keep your eyes peeled for that. It's coming extremely soon. Matter of fact, I'm looking at about $5,000 worth of podcast equipment just right over there. That being said, 75,000 subs. I mean, you got to think about that. I mean, I think that's impressive. And I mean, I'm not a veteran YouTuber, you know? I mean, I fell into this. I mean, it's just grown like crazy. And I mean, you know, from t-shirts and, you know, stickers and damn pandemic. Now we're selling face masks like going out of style. I don't even have one myself because we sold out. Is it bad that I can't even get a face mask with my face on it?
And that's why we're social distancing.
See, listen, don't mess with me, Sean. I will come over here and lick your face right now. So we decided to do an AMA to celebrate 75,000. You know, we're right here on the downhill slide going into that 100K. You know, I can see that silver play button, and I got the perfect place in my office, just on the other side of that wall right there, where it's going to go in my office. Like I already have like an outline of where it will be. I know what they look like. I've held heads. You know what I'm saying? That's my goal right now. You know, I set my mind to that. And I mean, I don't see it no slowing down. Speaking of no slowing down, I think we need to get this AMA underway. Guys, we asked you questions on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Out of all those questions, we had about 1,500 sent in. Of that 1,500, I read every one of them personally myself. Some of them are extremely funny, and I would love to answer on camera, but I can't. Some of them I can, and we choose some fun ones. We got some interesting ones, and we got some that I think are really good questions. You know, I do Q&As all the time on IG, and I love doing it. I mean, I generally break the max out thing within about an hour and a half, and I can't even answer anymore on IG when I do it. You know, and I get a lot, what was your first car? What was this? Where's the Meth Bus mini truck? And, all I say is watch the videos. We already talked about this. So we're moving on to other things. So we picked 30 questions that I think are really good ones. That'll be a lot of fun. Kind of new stuff you never heard before. Maybe some things, maybe touching on things a little deeper that you might have heard before. Sean?
Well, we're going to start with something incredibly in-depth.
Or should we say here in the South, Sean?
When you go out to dinner, what's the one thing on the menu you have to have if they offer it?
I'm old school. And everybody has their go-to thing they eat. We travel all the time between events or, going to car shows or buying cars or, going and picking up crazy stuff. And, I take, of course, Matt, the camera guy, with me everywhere I go. And, Sean's been with us on a few trips. And it's so funny because Matt traveled with NASCAR for years. And, he worked with NASCAR. And he told me, he said, when you're on the road, you eat the same thing because you got this one thing that is a safe meal. Because there's nothing worse than being sick on the road. His safe meal is chicken fingers and fries. He orders food like an 8-year-old. He orders off the kids' menu. But no matter where you go, I mean, we've been to some of the finest steakhouses and just all these restaurants, he gets the same thing over and over when we're on the road. And I see his point. But for me, my go-to thing, I'm a steak guy. I love moo cow. I'm a sucker for a good steak. So if they have steak, 9 times out of 10, I'm going that way.
When will the Hot Rods and Happy Hour podcast be back up?
I would be willing to bet probably the next 2 to 3 weeks, max.
The year is 2029. The very first vehicle produced by the Rabbit Automotive Group is rolling off the line. Tell us about it.
2029. I will be 50 years old in 2029. We'll be making jazzy scooters. 2029 Rabbit Motor Group. I like to think of myself as kind of an old soul. I would want to bring back, do some throwback stuff. My cars, I don't think necessarily would set the world on fire, but I love the throwback stuff. But I would have a little more old school flair in my stuff, I think, than like, the new Bronco or, the Challengers and the Mustangs and the Camaros and stuff. Like, I would want a little more vibe to it. Like, how cool would it be to design, like, as I'm saying this, looking at the front of a 66 Nova, with real chrome, not plastic chrome, things like that. I mean, a car that no way humanly possible could pass a crash test, which I think that's why I couldn't do that. Or like that 59 Biscayne, and everybody's seen that crash test video of those things. I mean, that thing rolls up like a newspaper when hit, but God, ain't it cool. So that's me. I think design would get in the way of actually being able to use it with me. So I don't know if I'd ever be able to start a car company for that very reason, because I would probably design very dangerous automobiles. I got an eye for things that will kill you. Explains a couple of my ex-wives too.
You don't have to pander to the current demographic where we live, but is there any mayonnaise better than Duke's mayonnaise?
Okay, I'm glad you said this. And this for everybody that doesn't live in the South, we have a company here in the South called CF Sour. CF Sour is located literally 20 minutes down the road, and they produce a substance that's called mayonnaise, but it is like God's gift to Southerners. And it is virtually the one thing that holds us all together. Like, you know, we can't agree on anything, but the one thing we can agree on, it's on every table in every restaurant in the South. And you can't get it anywhere else but down through here, really, you know, in the southern states. A funny story about Duke's mayonnaise is Tim Greer. You remember from our SEMA videos and, of course, the Hound Dog video. He was our Naked Elvis. Tim is South Carolina through and through. Like, I like to think of myself as a good old Southern boy. Tim is the quintessential good old Southern boy. Keep in mind, we're in Las Vegas, Nevada. He's going to SEMA for his very first trip, wearing overalls, a Richard Petty Stetson hat, and a collared shirt and cowboy boots. And that's what we're going out in Vegas in. And I'm talking about, to paint a picture. You know, we get to Vegas generally, we get to see them about 3 days early. We actually film one of those days. But the first 2 days, it's kind of nice to get there, kind of settle down, just kind of, you know, kind of set the mood and kind of get in the groove. You know, we go to the show and watch setup. And that's, to me, is one of the most interesting things about SEMA, is showing this big empty convention center and then just in 3 days, poof, the biggest show on earth. You know, and just, it's amazing watching it being built. I mean, you've seen it before. But so I love bringing people with me that's never seen that. And Tim, he walks in and he's got his hands in his overalls. Well, he's like, it's a pretty big place, you know? And so we're out walking around, we're walking down the strip, and we were actually at the Bellagio, because that's probably, people ask me all the time, what's the best thing in Vegas to see? And to me, you know, Vegas is a tourist trap. And people that live there will tell you that. Everybody knows that. You know, what's your favorite restaurant? What's your favorite this, you know, and all that. But to me, my favorite thing in Vegas is to watch the fountains at the Bellagio. I love watching that. I've seen it a dozen times, and I still just love watching them. I can stand there and watch those fountains for an hour. I just enjoy it. Just something about Billie Jean to shooting water tears my nerves up. Has nothing to do with that twerking video either. Maybe a little bit. But anyway, never mind. We need to call that girl. We need to get her out here. So, ring her up, Matt. So, you know, so we had Tim there. Well, outside the Bellagio, there's a little shopping part right there. And I kind of I'm a sucker for, I'm a little bougie sometimes. And, you know, I might like redneck boy cars, but I kind of like pretty boy stuff. I'm a big Louis Vuitton fan. I've got a few things, and I needed a new wallet. So I decided, hey, while we're in Vegas, let's go in the Louis Vuitton store. Well, when I did that, I was kind of like sneaking off to go in there and look, you know. Well, my buddy Tim Greer with his chain drive wallet, overalls, cowboy boots, and Richard Petty hat with the feathers walks in right behind me, toothpick in his mouth. We walk in, and the looks on the people's face in the store when he walks in. He goes, good Lord, Rabbit, you paid $900 for a wallet. They don't even have a chain on it. And he was serious as hard as heck when he said that. And actually, there's a video on Instagram, or not a video, but a picture we took outside the store. And that's one of those moments you'll never forget, is going to the Louis Vuitton store with Tim Greer, of all people. So anyway, but back to the Duke's mayonnaise thing. So we get back to the hotel, and one of my favorite secrets that I probably shouldn't tell you guys is we stay off the strip. When you're staying, you know, at the Westgate, and that's a lot of fun. We stayed there a few years. You know, we've stayed at the Encore a few times. But my favorite place, I got this little spot off the strip that I love to stay at. It's real quiet, real quaint. You ain't got slot machines and people running around everywhere. And it's real relaxing. And keep in mind, you know, SEMA time, into October, 1st of November, weather's about 70 degrees outside during the day. 60 at night. It's just perfect. And, I love just to sit outside and just chill. And they got this great little courtyard area, and you can just kind of hang out. They got the little fire pit going. There's a pool, the waterfall. It's just relaxing. And unwinding after a day of walking 12 miles and taking selfies and working booths and talking all day long. It's nice just to sit and chill. Get some good dinner, come in and just chill. You ain't got 40 million people messing with you. You're not having to go to an after party. So at least a couple nights a week, that's just what we do, is we just chill. A lot of times, hell, we'll go to like In-N-Out and grab like to go and just go there and just chill out. Tim Greer said, man, I want a sandwich. Like a sandwich. So he takes the rental car and goes to the local grocery store or like a corner store or whatever, comes back, and we have a picnic out there in that courtyard, and we eat bologna sandwiches. He brought his own Duke's mayonnaise. He packed it in his check luggage. He had packets of Duke's mayonnaise in his pockets for when we went to restaurants because they knew he didn't have it. He would, y'all need some? This guy was prepared, but you know what? We all, there was 6 or 7 of us there, and we all sat around and ate bologna sandwiches in Vegas with Duke's mayonnaise. And it's kind of like a little taste of home in Sin City.
Kind of makes you wonder how you got that through security.
That concerns me a little
3
bit.
ounces of fluid, 12 ounces of mayo.
12 ounces. This was the big jar, 32.
What is your favorite Asian import car?
Everybody's going to want you to say GTR or, something, whatever like that. I'm old school. I love 240Zs. I've always liked 240Zs. Matter of fact, I'm kind of excited. They're actually doing a throwback, I heard, or they're teasing it, of doing a throwback Z car, Nissan is, and really using kind of like the notes from the Challenger and the Mustang and the Camaro and doing a new version of the 240. I think that would be killer. I love 240Zs. Plain Jane, no cup holders, just a neat little sports car. And I love them with the wire wheels and like the bright yellow. Like, I love those cars.
Why do we never hear about the second Mrs. Pitts?
Why don't you ever hear about the second Mrs. Pitts? All right, my first marriage was a uber train wreck. It was a super nightmare. Of course, we touched on that on the hardest story I never told. And that was just one part of a horrible 5-year disaster of a marriage. But my second marriage, I'd like to think that I was just a lapse of judgment. This was a weird time in my life. I felt like I needed to slow down. And I was dating a really attractive, really nice girl. And, I decided, I need to get married. I don't know what I was thinking. I can't tell you, hey, this was this, and this is why I did it. I got married. We had this gorgeous wedding. I had my 61 Impala convertible, and everybody was dressed in black tuxes with the red vests, and of course I had my white over red 61 Impala convertible, all in the wedding pictures and all that stuff. And this is like a storybook wedding, and she's absolutely just looked like she walked out of a bridal magazine, and her mother was a florist, so you can only imagine it's like you're walking out of the damn rainforest, and I mean just all these flowers and like a damn botanical garden. And then we got married in this beautiful, huge old plantation house, and the Impala sitting out front, and just all the groomsmen all held with like a damn barbershop quartet, just like everybody dressed the same, and it was just perfect, and all these pictures. Though the actual marriage wasn't that bad. I was only married 9 months. It didn't take us long to figure out that we probably didn't need to be married to each other. It was pretty much a mutual agreement that we both really made a bad decision. And I will never forget, my parents bought us a cruise to go on as part of a wedding gift. They got us like a cruise package for a wedding gift, and we never used it. I came in my garage at the house, and I was sitting there, I was smoking a cigarette, and I told her, I said, "You just want to call this thing off?" She said, "Yeah, I do." I said, "Good enough." I called my attorney the next day. The next week, I took my mother on that cruise trip. And probably one of the funnest trips I've ever been in, and met two really nice nurses. You ever just say something and it just kicks back memories in your head? Anyway, so nurses. There's a story there, I'll tell you later. That's what happened. There really wasn't much to it. Like I said, we weren't married about 9 months. We actually had to wait, because in the state of South Carolina, you have to wait a year before you can legally, you had to be separated for a year before you can legally finish a divorce. And so we actually had to wait longer than we were actually married. If we had called it off about 2 months earlier, we could have had it annulled. Got married. So interesting thing, you guys remember James from the Van Wicky Stories, my buddy that's the preacher, barbecue pit master, ordained minister, and the mortician. He actually married us, which was, because it was my job to find a preacher. When you get married, by a preacher, they normally want to counsel you. They want to sit down with you and all that stuff. You don't just pay them and they show up and do their thing. That's how I marry people, But he wanted to counsel us. Well, James is a little different. So we actually met James at a bar. And I will never forget sitting there with my pits number 2 to be in a bar with James drinking Crown and Coke and talking about why we're getting married. That was a very interesting thing, and probably was a good red flag that we were making a mistake, but live and you learn.
Will we ever see a video with your dad?
Yes. I don't want to break anybody's heart, and everybody that's around me in this circle has all met my dad. And my dad's a very funny guy, but he's got a very dry sense of humor. And he's that kind of guy that he's either this or he's this, so you got to catch him in these moments, because if we record him normally, he's going to be like, yep, you know what I'm saying? So you got to catch him at the right moment. We got a fun video kind of lined up with him and the vets that we've been talking about shooting for a while, and I'll be honest with you, we just hadn't had time. Yeah, the dad will be a fun one to get on here, but he's not quite as entertaining as you would probably think. I got all the mouth in the family.
Have you ever owned a diesel truck?
Yes, I have owned a diesel truck, and I own a diesel truck shop. My grandfather started, if you go back to our video, $300, a hope, and a prayer. A story about my grandfather in 1968. He started Pitt's Truck Service with a $300 loan on a 1965 Ford Mustang and started Pitt's Truck Service. It's the only job, technically, my dad ever had. In my dad's late 40s, he did open up a car lot, and I actually ran it for him. That's where I got bit by the car sales bug. But, my dad, he didn't like the car sales business. I loved it. So, he decided to hang it up, went back to full-time running the truck shop, which he was doing both at that time. Around 2006, I was working at the Ford dealership. My dad was running the shop. My grandfather, like I said, passed away in 99. And, I was killing it at the Ford dealership. And this was a really wild time in my life. Burning the candle at both ends. I was really on a path that probably was not a good and healthy one for me. Drinking a lot, working all the time. You gotta understand, when you're doing sales, especially, dealership sales, there's no such thing as a day off. It's a 7-day-a-week job. I was making money hand over fist in that dealership. And I love the fast pace. I love that part. But it's not a healthy thing, you know what I mean? And working all day, going out all night, getting back up the next morning, doing it all over again, day in, day out, it will wear on you. My dad came to me and he goes, son, he said, you're killing it. He said, and you do a hell of a job for these people. You do a killer job for these people. But no matter how hard you work, they're not going to change the name of this dealership. Your name's never going to be on the front of this place. And I remember going in that next day, and sitting in my glass office and looking at Rob the Rabbit pits backwards in my glass office, looking out and thinking about it, and the little salesman running around trying to figure out how to tie their tie and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, he serves a point. I walked up to the general sales manager and told him, "This is my last day here." He goes, "What?" I walked out of the dealership that day, started running a diesel truck shop. Took some of my sales strategies, took a little bit of that, worked that into it. I ran it like it was my own, and it worked out really well. Here we are. In 2020, truck shop's still going great. You know, I mean, this thing you got to think about. I mean, this truck shop's been through, you know, fuel crises, recessions, inflation, all the shit in the 80s, stuff in the 90s, you know, 2008, you know, the housing crisis and all this stuff. Everything just keeps trucking, you know. And my grandfather always said, "This place will never make you rich, but it'll make you a damn good living." And it's true. It really is. And it kind of puts pride in my heart knowing that something my grandfather did 50 years ago, one move he made, and still to this day, I'm doing the same thing because of that. 3 generations later. One thing he did, his grandson is even affected by it. So that kind of, I don't know, I'm kind of sentimental, so it kind of gets with me a little bit. So I take a lot of pride in that. And even when we open this place up and doing this stuff, and I love selling collector cars. I love selling, period. I like knowing, and I bounce back and forth like a damn ping pong ball between here and my truck shop. I really do enjoy it. And so, yes, I have had diesel trucks, and I've been around them all my life.
What do you think of AMC cars?
I'm not the biggest fan. I was actually talking with a buddy of mine. We were talking about the Ring Brothers AMC they built, or AMX, whatever the hell it is, all whatever. He said, quite possibly, he said, that's the best looking AMC, AMX, whatever, that I've ever seen in my life. The Ring Brothers built. And I said, you ever notice that they kind of modeled everything after a 69 Camaro on it? So it's basically a 69 Camaro with humps in the tops of the fenders. And I said, it's funny how the more Chevrolet parts you put on an AMC, the better it looks. So no, I'm not a big AMC fan, sorry.
Out of all the Corvettes that you've owned, which one is your favorite?
By far the Heartbreak Vet. I love that old 80 Vet, you know, flared out 20s all the way around. Probably one of the slowest Corvettes I ever owned. It wasn't fast. It just, you know, got a lot of looks and, you know, flared out and wide. It was just a fun car to drive. And I think all the experiences I had in that car, because I had it for so long, and it's just, you know, I mean, like, you know, when I went through my first divorce, hell's the only car I had to drive. I drove to the grocery store. I drove it, you know, everywhere. You know, it wasn't just a hot rod in the garage. Like, it was my daily for a long time. I think that's why it's special to me, is that one, is that.
What kind of music does Rabbit listen to?
I am a child of the 80s. So naturally, damn near anything in the 80s. And of course, I like my 90s music too. And I like 70s music. I listen to satellite radio, and I usually jump on my Sirius XM satellite radio between 70s, 80s, and 90s. Back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. I'm always scrolling between those three.
Me too.
Great minds.
How long do you think it'll take for the C8 to be in the $40,000 range?
Give it 2 years. You'll start seeing some higher mileage ones pop up. Those cars are, as no matter what anybody says will tell you, are going to drop like a rock.
How many cars do you currently have in your fleet?
Right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Solid number.
Well, I mean, I had to do some quick math because it's always changing. You know, it's like it's never like a consistent number.
What is the least cool car that you genuinely like?
By far, the Kia Soul. Matt, the camera guy, and Kobe, who are here at the warehouse way more than I am. And basically, I show up to close and shoot videos. That's what I do. That's my job. And to write checks. Is they were talking like, we need a runaround. We need a car, just a good little runaround, something to wrap and run around. I'm a used car dealer at heart. I can't help it. So I'm a sucker for a deal. So I got to playing around on a salvage auction, and we're actually going to shoot a video with it because it's got a pretty interesting story with it too. And I bought a $500 Kia Soul, a 2011 Kia Soul that has like 130,000 miles on it, 5-speed. It'd been hit in the back, and it tore the back bumper off of it. And I've been driving the shit out of that thing. I've been driving it everywhere. Like my neighbors, I know, hate it. They're like, oh my God, time's supposed to be rough for Rob. Because I come riding up in my Kia with no back bumper on it. It still has the sticker from AIA, the salvage auction, on the windshield.
C4 Corvette or SN95 Mustang?
Oh, see, this is a conundrum for me. I like SN95 Mustangs. I had one of those cars in high school. Actually, I had a couple of them in high school. I love those cars. C4 Corvettes, man, that's my childhood, and I've had a billion of those things. I'm probably going to go C4 Corvette.
I'm with you.
Still, just flip up headlights.
Favorite authentic Mexican dish?
I've ate at some really good Mexican restaurants and things like that. I tell you, we went out to Texas and we were filming our Netflix pilot. We were out there, and of course, when you go to a new town, everyone wants to take you to that one restaurant. Oh, you haven't lived. You've had, Mexican food from here. This is authentic. This is real. Sucked horribly. We ate at a little rundown dive taco stand. Matter of fact, we actually filmed there. We were filming in front of it, and we decided to break, and we got some of these little street, like these made tacos, but they were so good. But they're like, street truck tacos, but like this thing was like a damn snow cone hut that made tacos. And that was the best Mexican food I've ever put in my mouth, hands down, period. And I sat on a park bench made of cinder blocks and 2x4s on the side of the road in Lotney, Texas, eating these tacos, watching tumbleweeds blow by. And that was the best Mexican food I ever had, period.
In your best voice, can you please say, "You're in good hands with Allstate"?
You're in good hands with Allstate.
What's the sketchiest car you have ever driven?
Actually, this one actually drives pretty good, believe it or not. The neighbors don't agree, but I like it. Sketchiest car I ever driven. Probably something I bought from Tim Greer. That camper truck with that big ass camper on the back of it was a little interesting. It was cool on the straights, but you go to make a turn, you felt like you were going to flip over if you were going over about 20 with it. That thing was, the best way to describe it was unstable or structurally unsound.
What is a must-have modification or option in a 60s or 70s muscle car?
I'm old school. I need a 4-speed. I gotta have a 4 on the floor. I'm extremely picky when it comes to muscle cars. Perfect example of this. I've been looking for a really nice 70 Chevelle LS6 454. I have this car in my head that I want, and a buddy of mine who is an Uber collector, he always has the nicest Chevelles. And, I've had several come through. They were nice cars. They were big blocks or late model LS powered, Pro Touring style or something. But most of them were automatics. He had the prettiest silver, red guts, black vinyl top, black stripe, 70 Chevelle, cow hood. Checked all the boxes. Bright red inside, all original frame off restored car. LS6, the car you want. It was column shift automatic. They put it back just like day one. That car killed me because it didn't have a 4-speed. If it was a 4-speed car, I would have owned it. I would have sold a kidney to get it. Like that was the car, and I would probably damn near have to get it because we're talking about probably an $80,000 car. But it was a column shift, automatic, bench seat in this 70 LS6 454 Chevelle matching numbers. And you're like, who the hell orders a column shift muscle car? You know, I tell people this story all the time because I get asked about it all the time about automatic muscle cars. You know, when you see column shift cars, a couple different scenarios I've heard, especially in the 70s up muscle cars. A lot of guys came home from Vietnam, you know, missing a leg or an arm or something like that, but they got that check and they wanted to buy their dream car. And they ordered it, column shift. Another one that's kind of interesting, and I've actually ran across this twice now. One was a Grand National, an 87 Grand National that had a bench seat, no console, column shift. It was ordered by a private investigator. You gotta think about it, what does a private investigator do? Pulls up and stakes out, you know, takes pictures. He needed something where he could lay across the seat if somebody came by or taking pictures. So he ordered his brand new Grand National. Now you want to talk about, now 87 Grand Nationals are insane right now. You know, that was the best of the Grand Nationals, intercooled, yada, yada, yada. Could you imagine if you found that car today and it was in good shape? There couldn't be 2 or 3 ever made, but an 87 Grand National, so all blacked out, everything like a regular Grand National, but no bucket seats, no console. It had basically the Buick Regal bench seat, column shift, grandma style, with a turbo 3.8. Very, very neat car.
What's your idea of the perfect C10?
Hate to be that guy, but I'm kind of looking at it. I love 67 through 72 trucks. I've loved them since the very first time I ever laid eyes on one. I loved them when they were $5,000 trucks. I love them now that they're 6-figure trucks in the right way. My C10 is really special to me. You know, factory big block, short bed, you know, they didn't make but a handful of them. The color combination, it is a one-of-one truck. Lots of funny stories go with this. And this truck is that holy grail truck. And, you know, I've had several that want to buy it or try to buy it. And you know, I've always been really hesitant about selling them. I'll throw a price on it, but as a rule, you know, I'll put a price on there that's way out of reach or just a little over the top, because I think if I sold it, that would be the one that I would have buyer's remorse. I love that truck. You know, like I said, just the cool points, the authenticity, the factory big block, matching numbers, everything. You know, it doesn't have a big cam in it or aluminum heads or anything like that. Factory air, everything works just like it should. All we did was literally get the truck all original. The truck was perfect. I dropped it on its nuts, put a big set of billet wheels on. I'm actually on my second set of billet wheels. I ran 18 and 20-inch Boyd Coddington wheels on it first, and now I went with billet specialties, 20s and 22s on it. And I'll be honest with you, the more I drive it, the more I like it. I haven't drove that truck in 6 months. It's got dust on it, this literally that thick. I have not drove it since we had an indoor car show for Motor Trend that we did, and I had it in a booth out there. Literally, I promise you, I could put the battery charger on that truck and fire it up and drive it. It hits the road absolutely perfect. No squeaks, no rattles, nothing rubs. It literally drives like a brand new vehicle. I love that truck. So to me, that's my perfect C10. No air ride, no BS to give any problems, just a really good, great sounding, good running, you know, not the fastest thing, you know, about 300 horse, but just a good, fun truck that will roast the tires off of it, gets attention wherever it goes, and timeless. So that one by far is my ultimate C10.
You can only have 5 cars in your garage. What are those dream cars?
My dream cars change. You know, I mean, I might be, you know, you talk about what's your 5-car garage look like? Well, hell, you know, I was looking at Prevost buses. Better be a pretty damn big 5-car, you know? I'm looking at a 45-foot long vehicle. I wanted the baddest ass NASCAR around. You know, my dream cars change. Like every week I want something different. You know, I mean, right now I'm eyeballing one of the Ferrari Daytona McBurneys from Miami Vice. I mean, it's ooh, I want this. I'm like a little kid, I guess is the best way to sum it up. So my 5 cars is going to constantly be revolving, and changing up. I definitely would have, my C10 in there, but, and a cool Corvette of some kind, because in the last 20 years, I've always owned at least one C10 and one Corvette. Just to have to.
First generation Ford Lightning or a Chevrolet 454 SS?
I'm a die-hard GM guy. Die-hard. You cut me and I bleed Chevrolet orange, the engine color. I love General Motors stuff. I love OBS trucks. I love that the values are going up on them. And right now, 454 SSs have gone through the roof. I think it was kind of cool growing up when these things, like I remember them. I don't remember when my 72 was built, or that Nova, or that Bug, or my 68 Corvette, or that 57 Chevrolet was built. But I remember when those came out. And my dad bought one brand new in 90. He had it, and then he actually had another one a few years later, about 98. Real low mile, just super nice, black over red 90 454 SS. He also had a 93 Lightning that we bought from the salvage sale. Bright red, first gen Lightning. It had been hit down the side, been sideswiped, so we fixed it. And so we had this perfect 454 SS that's literally always been somebody's baby, lived in the garage. I think it had 10,000 miles on it. It was just that perfect 10-year-old truck. And we had this 7-year-old Lightning that had been hit harder than Joe Frazier, that had been fixed. And that Lightning would eat that 454 SS alive. Like, it was night and day. It was like a Honda CRX in your McLaren. The 454, I got a big block. You gotta understand, when Chevrolet built the 454 SS, they were just playing in the parts bin. They took a 3/4 ton truck motor and put it in a 1/2 ton truck. It wasn't a hot rod 454. It was 454 made to pull a boat trailer. They put in a smaller truck and put a real low gear in it so it actually jump a little bit and put stickers on it. 454 SS. Ford did their homework. They had custom wheels, different suspension, different everything really compared to a regular F-150. And then you threw in a 351 roller motor. It was a better vehicle. And I love first gen Lightnings. I already had a few. I like them, but like I said, I'm a diehard Chevrolet guy. But all in all the way around, and I like the styling on the Lightning. So I'm probably gonna have to go with first gen Lightning.
How do you feel about Teslas?
Do you want the truth, or do you want like a YouTube appropriate version?
I'm just the messenger.
I think they're a joke. I really do. They're cool, but I look at it like a novelty. Electric cars to me, like every time I ride in one, you remember that old cartoon, The Jetsons?
I do.
That noise, when they get in their little bubble thing, that's what plays in my head when I'm riding one. His boy, Elroy. You know what I'm saying?
And you throw your wife out and some money.
Yeah. You got the little robot, mate. Rosie comes out. They're neat and they're fast. And the thing you got to understand, I'm not bashing electric vehicles, but I think to be used in a daily basis, there's some situations where an electric vehicle will do everything you need it to do. Do I think that there'll be a time where there'll be no dinosaur-powered vehicles? I don't think it'll ever be in our lifetimes, or our kids' lifetimes, the ones we don't know about. But you know what I'm saying. So I don't think it's ever going to be like, electric cars are the king. You know what I'm saying? I think there's always going to be the fossil fuel rides. But to say this, electric power is fast. You got to understand, it's direct. It's boom, instant torque. Hell, for Christ's sakes, one of my good friends, Robbie Steen, Plum Quick Racing, Rock Hill, South Carolina. Rock Hill's just a little podunk town with a college beside it. He holds the Guinness Book of World Records, not once, not twice, but I think 4 times for having the world's fastest golf cart. He has a 150-mile-an-hour golf cart.
Ooh.
An Easy Go. Matter of fact, I have the fender off that car because he cut it up. When I interviewed him, he gave me one of his numerous championship rings, and I should have brought it with me. See, let me see the fit. We have a prop. It's show and tell. He loves Mopar products, so he paints them all like Sublime Green. This is Plum Crazy Purple, but this is the front fender off the Club Car DS that went, I think this one was 110 mile an hour, and it's signed by Robbie Steen at Plum Quick Racing. This is just kind of hanging up on the wall here in the warehouse, but 110 mile in a golf cart. And the thing is, for the Guinness Book of World Records, it had to be used on a golf course. It had to be able to haul 2 people and 2 golf bags. These things had relatively stock suspension. It did have disc brakes on it to slow it down. But other than that, it was running 14-inch, like the import slicks that they run on front wheel drives. He had on the back. It had a battery pack from a Prius in it. 50 miles an hour in a golf cart. And I mean, I've always played with golf carts and had several over the years. And you know, we always hop them up and all that stuff. 40 miles an hour in a golf cart feels like you're running 90. And Robbie is a small guy. He's like 5'8", $120, not a big guy. He's tagged the wall at over 100 mile an hour in a golf cart at a drag strip. And there's videos, you can go online, of him outrunning Mustang GTs at the drag strip with the golf cart. And I mean, it's just like your eyes are playing tricks on you, because this golf cart leaves the Mustang behind. Not like he got him by a fender, like he got him by links. Car links, not golf cart ones. So electric power, yes, I love it. I think it's cool. Am I sipping the Tesla Kool-Aid? No. So odds of me ever having one probably will never happen.
How do you feel about washing your car with a foam cannon?
It looks fun. I've never used one. I never used one. I actually thought about it the first time I washed my new Silverado, the one with the big lift on it, you know. I'm thinking like it's big. Like I didn't think about this when I bought it. Like trying to wash it, trying to reach the top of the hood. And, you know, of course you gotta have a ladder to get the top of it, but I don't know. I've never used a foam cannon. Hint, somebody send me one.
Is there any vehicle that you've been burned on like an auction car?
Several. You gotta understand, when cars go through auctions, there's a reason. And you know, sometimes the reason is, hey, you know, business is a little slow. We're gonna move a little inventory, try to get some more capital back. And then the other reason is it's a big POS. We know it. We can't sell it, so we're gonna let somebody else take a swing at it. And you know, they don't necessarily disclose problems at auctions with cars. So you got to do your best to kind of investigate it while it's going through, and you know, find the one you can live with and bring it home. And sometimes you don't know all the problems they have. Sometimes you can spot them pretty quick. So yes, I have been burnt before on some auction cars, you know. I mean, this is what makes a good salesman flipper. I hate that term flipper, but it does. It makes you a better one when you buy a turd like that. Like, you know, I bought the van that was the repo, and you know, like it was running hot, it run like crap, and I sold the van for scrap, but it was full of cable boxes. And I sold all the cable boxes and came out. Things like that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of I guess the Southern expression. It's a pig in a poke.
Now make sure that you're nice and stretched out and you can reach really far back to pat your own back here. But what's it like to be so successful in so many endeavors?
Tiring. It's, you know, and you know, people don't understand. And I'll give you a perfect example of this. Everybody wants, you know, stuff, and everybody wants success, and everybody wants, you know, that hustle. You know, I would love to have been the guy that just trademarked that word. Guys like that. And it's a lot of work. I mean, like right now, we started filming this thing at 7:30 in the morning. You know, what was I doing last night at 11 o'clock? I was pulling questions and getting them down for this guy. What was Matt, the camera guy, doing last night at 11 o'clock? He was at the drag strip filming a drag race. I mean, you know why? Because you got to do that. But these are the parts you don't see. All you see is my ass sitting in this red chair. You know, these cars don't buy themselves. You got to go out, you got to track them down. You know what? You got to have money to do that. You know why? Because you got to be successful at selling these sumbitches too. Buying them, and you make your money when you buy it because you buy smart. But you got to understand, you got to be, these sumbitches don't sell themselves. You know, and I mean, it's a fight every day. You've got somebody trying to take something from you. You got a target on your back. And, you know, if you're sitting here waiting for somebody to pat you on the back or tell you you're doing a good job, you're going to starve to death. You've got just to run. Vacations and special events and things like that kind of go to the wayside because you have to focus almost with damn near laser accuracy on what you want. And, you know, I set my laser on world domination, and here I am.
I personally lost a lot of weight like you did, and I also work in the automotive field. What was the first car that you jumped in and realized you were smaller?
My 32 Ford. Keep in mind, when I bought my 32 Ford, it was a fiberglass roller, you know, kit car. I was 300 pounds, and a 32 Ford's a very small car. And the thing is, at its widest point on the inside, it's 39 inches wide. That's a yardstick and 3 inches. So you can imagine two people sitting in this, width-wise. And it tapers from there in. A 32 Ford's one of the most iconic hot rods ever, so I was in love with the style of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't fit fat people very well. And tall fat people even worse. You gotta think about 1932, 5'8" was considered tall. So when you're 6'2" and bumping 300, you know what I mean. This car's not made for you. When I started losing the weight, you know, we had to make all these adjustments just so I could remotely drive the car. Not necessarily be comfortable in it, but I could drive it. Like, you know, we had the column up as high as we could, and in as far as we could, and the seat as far back and down. So you're kind of like, you're sitting in it like this, driving it. And you know, when you got big size 13 feet, and you've got, you know, a big brake pedal and a big gas pedal and a footwell this wide, you know, I mean, hell, this thing's like driving a damn Lincoln compared to that 32 Ford. Trying to get all that fit in there, you know, that was so aggravating. But I noticed this is when I started losing weight, right when I sold it. And it was like everything was getting further away, like from my stomach, and everything was getting, and I noticed even like Corvettes and everything, you know, regular cab pickup trucks, the steering wheel ain't touching my belly no more, you know? Hey, look, you know, I don't have to tilt the wheel up to get out and things like that. So yes, it made a big difference, and probably one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, that and divorcing my first wife.
Why did you sell the anniversary white C4?
I bought this car. The car's got a really special story with it. You can go back to the video and watch it. It's my old 80s dream car. It's the very first C4, the actual very first C4 88 35th anniversary Corvette I ever saw. You know, started life at Abraham Chevrolet, Tampa, Florida, yada, yada, yada. I had the car. I drove it. I actually enjoyed it. We were going to do a little bit of restoration work on it. I had a really good friend come up to me, a good friend, good high school friend, and he's actually into Fords. I pray for him every night. I was joking around with him, and he goes, my wife absolutely loves this car. And so I like to find her something like this. And she absolutely loves it. You know, you got to understand, when you've got 13, 14 other cars sitting around, it's almost selfish sometimes, I feel like, to let something just sit. Because I'll be honest with you, you could drive them every day and not do any more damage than you can letting one sit. And I preach that all the time. And I'm the biggest hypocrite on it, because there's no way humanly possible I can drive all these cars. You know what I'm saying? If I drove a different one every day for 2 weeks, you know, by the time I got around to the next one, you've already got one that's been sitting. You know what I'm saying? You know, naturally, you don't want to drive, you know, something different. I mean, it's just a job in itself. Hell, it's a job, full-time job keeping batteries up in this place. You get to thinking about that, and the cars are so neat. And I had fun. I got to take my dad out for a ride in, and that was the big thing. And, you know, we went out showing our asses in it. And I cruised to the bank a few times, and, you know, I ran a few errands with it, you know, and I drove it to the house. And, like, I had my fun with it. You know, I got to reminisce and you know, and got to drive it. And, you know, I got to hear all the squeaks and rattles. And you know, as much as I would love to tell you that it was the perfect C4 Corvette, and it made none of the squeaks and rattles, and you know, the digital dash worked absolutely perfect in it, and the body was pristine and it rode good. It didn't. It didn't do any of those things. It was really, really, it was a good driving C4 Corvette, and I'll leave it at that. But it was a C4 Corvette in every extent of the word. It had every C4 quirk that one could have. I mean, it was a good car, but it wasn't a great car. I mean, the Indy Pace Corvette I had, the C4, was 15 times the car this one is. But this car was special because it was the story with it. That's just not a reason for me to hold on to it. You know, it's not a family heirloom. My dad didn't buy the damn car. I just saw the car, and it was neat that I could actually find it. I mean, how luck plays out. And this guy's wife was going crazy over this thing, so I sold it to him. You know what? And she's driving it and enjoying it. So, hey, you know what? They're having fun. The car's getting looks, and they're having a blast.
What's your favorite story you've told on VinWiki?
This is kind of a multi-part. Probably my favorite is still the eBay Outlaw story. I mean, 3 million views on that video. 1 million a year it gets. And I've told that story probably 10,000 times in a bar somewhere, or talking with a buddy or a customer, because it was interesting, and I'm not saying what I did was right, or, like I need praise for doing wrong. I did, and I was totally wrong. I like to think my hustle got a little misguided, I didn't have anyone standing over my shoulder saying, Rob, that's wrong, I mean, I just kind of took a stab at it and it bit me in the ass, but made for a good story. And that was a fun one to tell. There's so many fun stories with VinWiki, and that's what I think the popularity of VinWiki and all the spin-off channels, everybody that's been on VinWiki that has their own channel, which the majority does now, the notoriety that these stories get, and the people live vicariously through these stories. I never thought, in 2005, when all this stuff went down, 15 years later, I'd be known as the eBay Outlaw, and I would have stickers with that on there and t-shirts with that on there. I didn't think that. I mean, it wasn't necessarily something I was proud of. I never really thought it'd go much further than, good bullshit story at the bar. People coming up to me. It's been mentioned in books. And I'm just like, it just blows my mind, that. Of course, sold a Camaro to a porn star. And that one was fun, and this is after, several VinWiki videos did really well, or like the best first day selling ever, and things like that are just going to be good stories. Or, when I wrecked my motorcycle, and all that stuff happened, it legitimately did. I know a lot of stories get embellished and things, but those stories, those are straight up truth. I think that's what makes them fun, because it's so funny sometimes how just real life can be so interesting. It doesn't need to be fiction. You know what I mean? It's better than fiction, I guess. So I guess eBay Outlaw is my favorite story.
After all these years in the car business, what's something that you could give as advice to someone that you had to learn the hard way?
I'll tell you this, and it's something that I'm still learning today. You never stop learning. First of all, you never know everything. I get several questions. Remember, there was several of these questions in different form, but basically reworded. But in a nutshell, when you work for yourself, no matter if you're selling cars, or if you're selling cameras, or if you're selling open trailers and wash machines and dryers, whatever you're selling, you've got to hustle. You've got to work your ass off. You got to do things that other people aren't willing to do. You can't be too good to do anything. And I think a lot of people see the end result and think, I want to be there, but don't think about all the steps you got to take to get there. You can't be too good to pick up a broom and sweep the floor, or you can't be too good to push a car around, or you can't be too good to wash cars, or you can't be too good to, try to do something on a car to save you $1 so you can make a little more money off of it. You can't be too good for that. And that's something that I preach to people. You got to be humble. And I'll be honest with you, I've met people that a lot of you guys would swear up and down, have it all figured out. And I know them on a personal level, and I know better. And I see their struggles. And just like my struggles, just talk about learning every day. My biggest problem right now, this damn warehouse is so hot. No, I'm just kidding. My biggest problem right now is stopping sense. Like I told you in my video about, my buddy, and how he just gave it all up, just stopped. That's a problem for me. Where do I stop? Where do I slow down? I'm like this car going around the track, just woo, 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 with no finish line in sight though. That's the problem. I have passed so many goals. I have done so well with something. You want to see how far it'll go, but you also want to enjoy life a little bit. I mean, as much as I love staring at his ugly ass behind the camera, you got to think, that, and have a little stop and says, you got family. You've got, my parents are getting up in age a little bit. And hell, the last time I saw my mother was at a car show that I was filming at. You got to be able to stop, and you think about things like, I remember back in the day, I'd take my mom out on a hot date, we'd just go grab dinner and go goof off. And, I hadn't done that in years. I'm thinking, you know what? I think I might blow the dust off, the old vet. Maybe we'll pick the old mom up and spend a little time with her. Because, like my grandfather, and this actually literally this was just last night, my aunt, who I haven't spoken with, and hell, I haven't laid eyes on her in 15 years, who lives 2 hours away, by the way. And it's not because, we have any disagreements or anything, it's just busy. You know what I'm saying? And, they have life down there, and I got life up here. I feel like I'm serving life up here, but you know what I'm saying? And she shot me a text, asking a random question, like, hey, looks like everything's going great. I said, oh yeah, and all this stuff. And I'm a really good actor. I called my grandfather Pop, and she said, Pop's looking down at you right now, smiling his ass off, I bet. Because my grandfather was such an influence on me. Like, I love my dad. My dad's great too, and he's a big influence too, but my grandfather, he was the Dominic Toretto of the family. He was the one that held them all together. And when he died, everybody just kind of split off. My grandfather was the son. Me and him were extremely close. I was the first grandchild, so naturally I was kind of the favorite. And, we used to talk when I was 16, 17 years old, up in his garage. And he's like, one day you're going to be doing this. He said, I'm telling you. He said, you can just tell, you're that guy. And little did I know, 20 years later, I'm doing a lot of the things he said I would be doing. He was a lot to me, and I like that hits home. I wish I spent more time with him. Like I said, he passed away in 99, and then, like my father, or, I get to see my dad a good bit, through the truck shop and things like that. But, like seeing my mother, or, seeing your ugly ass. I miss you, Sean, sometimes, sometimes. It's nice just to come home and chill and relax. That's the hard thing for me to do, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. A good friend of mine rented an entire island off the Keys in Florida. And he goes, into August, get your ass in the car, get down here. We got the whole island for the week. Just chill. I don't think I can do it. One, I can't swim, and I'll be surrounded by a body of water. Second, I don't think I could relax. Like, I would freak out just to sit in a beach chair and do nothing all day long. I would have a fit, probably. I would be forming sandcastle cars and trying to sell them online or something. It's always learning. You know what I mean? I'm learning to try to slow down and enjoy life a little bit more and still keep, the pace somewhat productive. So it's always a learning thing. Definitely be prepared to work harder than you ever have before. And most importantly, maybe be prepared to slow down or even stop if you need to.
This is not a paid product placement. It's Miller time.
It is Miller time. Guys, we'll catch you next time at Rabbit's Used Cars.